defying all hatred, be the love. Beyond toleration, be the love. Before pride and exaltation, be the love. Be the love. Be the hope.
You are listening to Be the Love, transcending through the shadows into a higher state of consciousness. We are souls on the journey, opening up the conversation to heal, awaken, and connect ourselves and the planet to a higher vibration of love frequency. It starts with you. Everything you need is within you. This is your time. I am Stacy Musial.
And I am Sam Fernandez, and we are your co-hosts at Be the Love podcast. Thank you for tuning in and ascending with us. Hop on board the Ascension Bus.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love, transcending through the shadows. I am Stacy Musial, and Sam Fernandez is out sick today, but sends his love. And we are your co-hosts and souls on the journey. And I would like to just begin by inviting you to get centered with us. So I just want to take a moment, if it feels safe for you to do so, to begin by taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, just letting go of anything that is not serving you in this moment. And just again, take another deep breath in through your nose and out of your mouth, just feeling your body as a whole, allowing yourself to just feel grounded in this moment. And just again, take a deep breath in through your nose and out of your mouth, just feeling connected to this present moment and remembering that you always have your breath to come back to. And so today we welcome Maya Boston. Maya is an international transition guide, light language channel, and Gong Sound Journey practitioner. She channels messages from the Star Mothers, a group of light beings from the planets in our galaxy. Maya also channels the wisdom of the whales and dolphins. She is a starseed, a way shower, and a messenger of the blue ray. Maya offers workshops, online classes, and private online sessions, as well as DNA activating, frequency shifting, and self-empowerment. Maya acknowledges that you are the master in your own right as she holds you in oneness of all creation, which serves as a reminder to all humanity that we are all capable of living in harmony, peace, and love with each other and with our beloved planet. So thank you so much for being here today, Maya. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and to be given this opportunity to share my gifts with your audience.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to see what we'll co-create today. So let's just jump right in and tell us a little bit about what led you to this path.
Well, I think I was awake when I was a child, and then in the process of living, I just got on with linear living and the busyness of life, and it wasn't until later in life that the universe really dealt me a backhander, if you like, and made me sit very still for a very long period of time. And this is when I began to wake up, because I did not like where I was, and I realized that everything that I had done in my life up until that point had not worked for me, because my life wasn't where I thought I would be with it. And so I began a journey of self-discovery, because this is, I think this is where we need to begin, going inward and looking at who we are, how are we responding to the world around us. So my journey started with the gongs first. That was the first thing that kind of really drew me. That was that was over 15 years ago now. And when I heard the gongs for the very first time in this lifetime, I was so drawn. I had to find out what that is. Where is it? What is making that sound? Because I had no idea that there even was such an instrument that could make such a sound. And so my journey began there, that moment of hearing that sound that struck a chord within me, if you like, and I kept going with it. I kept pursuing it. I had a personal session. I then became a partner in the business, and then I left that business and I started my own practice and followed my own path from there. So it was really a journey of self-discovery and trusting my own intuition that this is what I'm meant to be doing in this lifetime.
That sounds really beautiful. So it sounds like you really trusted that intuition and the journey and where it took you, and just listening to those messages within saying this really resonates, and continued on that path. It sounds really beautiful. Tell us a little bit about what it means to be a starseed, way shower, or a messenger of the blue ray, and how that discovery brought you to where you are.
Aside from being weird,
We're all a little.
most of my life I've felt weird. I felt I was perceiving the world in a different way to everybody else around me. So I had to think back to my childhood to start to understand myself. And I realized that even in childhood, I became very unsure of myself because my perceptions were telling me one thing and everybody else was responding in a completely different way. So for most of my life, I kind of felt like I was a misfit, and definitely kind of fumbled around in life, trying to find what was my purpose. But once I woke up and I started to begin to understand myself rather than judge myself, I began to understand that I had a voice. I began to understand that I loved to hide and that I was being pushed to be seen. I began to understand that I do things a lot sooner than a lot of people around me. And I began to realize that I was actually channeling, because I had this voice in my head for all of my life that was telling me things and I would ignore it. I would literally slap it down and tell it to be quiet. So, it's, and I'm still being pushed to this day. Keep going, keep being seen, keep speaking, keep putting out there what you feel, which is, for me, my own personal journey has been one of, coming out of hiding to be seen. And I was just sharing with a client last night that I have 3 very large gongs on stands, and they're on 3 sides of me because that's how I harmonize them. And it was very easy for me to hide behind that structure that I created around me. So it was me, the gongs, which were the barrier, and then the audience. And how when the gongs came in and I became confident with the gongs, then I was being pushed to speak light language, and I resisted speaking light language for the longest time because to me it just sounded like gibberish. and I didn't understand what it was. And then they were pushing me to tone and sing, and I'm not a trained singer, so I was resisting the whole time. And then I reached a point where I thought, okay, I can whisper it into the gongs. It's going to have the same effect, right? and so I was hiding the whole time. And then if I can share this one experience, I was doing a workshop in Singapore quite a few years ago now, and I asked the promoter to provide me with a gong, and I'm talking about a large gong on a stand. And when I met with her in Singapore, I said, did you manage to find the kind of gong I was looking for? She said, oh, yes, it's here. And she held up this bag, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? And she said, oh, she pulled out on a little wooden stand this tiny little gong, was probably about 10 inches in diameter. and it was a little Chinese dinner gong. And I thought, oh my gosh, the universe really has a sense of humor. And when I sat down to play at the workshop, I really was doubting myself. I was feeling anxious. I thought, I have gathered people who have paid to come to this workshop, and it's going to be a total failure. I don't have a gong, because this tiny little dinner gong, when I picked up the mallet and I was striking it, it just, it had no resonance in it. It was just a really, donk kind of sound. And so I centered, I grounded, I took a few deep breaths, and I asked, what am I supposed to do with this? And they said, use your voice. And so I was really forced to use my voice. I had no other choice. I had to go through with this workshop. And so I was really pushed to use my voice. And so my practice changed after that. So instead of having at homes and having the 3 gongs, creating that barrier around me, I reduced it to 1 gong, and it was on one side of me, and the other side was the audience, so the audience could see me. So that's how that's been my journey of resistance.
So the universe really showed up and showed you another way, and to help you release that resistance, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And I'm also hearing that you had to step in and listen to that, and then you listened, and what was that turning point like for you when you had to step into your own truth and your voice?
And trust. And really trust that information that was coming in. So I opened my mouth during the workshop, and sounds came out, and I wasn't sure how the audience was going to receive it. But the universe also sent me confirmation afterwards in the form of a participant who came up to me and said, she shared with me that she had just come back from a trip to Israel, and she was in some place where there were a lot of crystals that she had visited, and the song that I sung that day in the workshop was exactly the same song she heard the crystals singing in Israel. And so for me, that was a confirmation that, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm not insane. And I really, really have to learn to trust this information that comes through for me.
That's beautiful. And so how has using your voice and tuning into the messages that you're receiving, how has that helped you to open up to your own light and share that with the world?
Well, it's quite powerful using the voice, because I work with sound. So sound, of course, the voice was another tool that I could use along with the gong sound. So it's had a tremendous effect on me, because I'm more confident in the work that I do with people, and with my confidence increasing, that means that I have more to give, and there's more people can receive more from me as well. So I'm really showing up in the world. I'm really shining my light out into the world more and more. And this is for the benefit of humanity. This is, I'm told, also the way that I work with sound, which is very different to most people. I've been told by several different practitioners on numerous occasions that the way that I work with sound is also for the benefit of the planet. So it's all there, you know, for humanity, for the planet, at this point in time in human history, when we're going through such tremendous changes. And I remember sitting on the island of the sun at the Sacred Rock many years ago, on Lake Titicaca. And I was sitting near the sacred, a little wall underneath the Sacred Rock, and I was sitting there looking out at a ceremony that was going on. And I just put up the question, you know, what am I here for? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of this trip at all? And all of a sudden the sacred puma turned up, and for me to have a puma sitting next to me, I'm from Australia. We don't have that kind of animal here in Australia. So I kind of looked over and I thought it was black, and it's sitting there, and it had a very soothing voice, because I'm clairaudient first and foremost. And the words came through very clearly. You are here to witness the old in order for you to know how to create the new ways. And I had no idea what that meant all those years ago, but there it was. And just allowing the process, trusting the process, knowing that I am here for a purpose, and often feeling like I called myself a salmon going upstream. You know how they probably don't know why the force of nature makes them go upstream until they get there, but all they know is that they have to get there. And that's the feeling I've had in my life since I've awakened, and it's always something pushing me forward, the next step. And when I look back on my journey of the last 20 years, I just think, wow, I couldn't have imagined that in my wildest dreams, all the things that have happened for me, all the places that I've visited. I've been so blessed, you know, to have been on this journey, and yet I don't always know ahead of time why. I just know, you know, there's just a knowing within me, and I know I have to do it. I'm being pushed to do it, and I need to answer that call. I need to trust that information.
Oh, that sounds really beautiful, and just really, yeah, opening up to your own purpose, trusting and being in the flow of that, it sounds like. And it sounds like you've been on that awakening journey now for the last 15 years or so. And I'm noticing, and I'm sure you've seen, and a lot of people are awakening on this planet now, and there seems to be like this push, or maybe it's happening at an accelerated rate. So I'm wondering if you can talk about what you've noticed and what your thoughts are around that.
Yes, absolutely. Isn't it wonderful?
It is.
I love
I
it
love
that, I've really noticed, particularly last year, so many people awakening, but probably since 2012, since that cosmic date, there really has been a momentum that has been building. And I think a lot of starseeds and way showers may have felt like it's been a big push uphill all this time, but I think that we're really going to see this year forward, we're going to see that things are easier. The universe is working with us is giving us more opportunities to shine into the world. But it's really time. It's time. It was no coincidence, all the events of 2020, because in that cosmic date back in 2012, humanity as a collective said yes to the ascension process, and we've been building slowly. So the universe has kind of been pushing people forward, bit by bit, step by step. And now it's, last year we were asked to stop and to really reevaluate and rebalance our lives, and to put all of that into some context in our lives. And this year we're putting into action that which we learned last year when we all had to slow down. So it's wonderful seeing from, this higher perspective. It's wonderful seeing on a global scale what's going on with humanity, how the universe is putting certain systems into play so that it does push humanity forward. And we had a lot of people awaken last year, and we're going to have even more people awakening this year, because there's this massive momentum that's going, especially this decade through to 2032, where every aspect of our society will be held up into the light to be transmuted and changed, so that we create more life-sustaining systems, more resources that are shared more equally amongst the population of humanity on the planet. So a lot of things are up for change. If I can say that there is, if there is a constant through the next years, I would say it is change itself. And therefore, in the awakening process, we need to learn to be in the flow, to let go of our resistances, because everything that is us, even at this moment, there was an energy that really amped up on the solstice, the December solstice, and it's going through until January 21st. And we're still in this, this period where we're being asked to still begin to just go inward and to vision what we want, to do the research that we need to do in order to put our light out into the world. We need to take some action steps, but we need to do the research in order to find out how we're going to do that for ourselves and for humanity. So there's this wonderful cosmic support that we're getting in this time, and there is no letting up. There is no going back to the way it was pre this time last year, for example. That world is gone. That world does not exist anymore. In fact, at this point in time, we're being asked to let go of our identities. A lot of what we thought we were, we have to leave behind. And it's almost, it's like that old analogy with the layers of the onion. Who are we really? Until we get to the core of who we are, there's going to be this process of letting go, releasing. For example, people who lost their jobs last year would have had titles, engineer, secretary, technician, whatever your title was, and they had to let go of that. I've heard lots of lovely stories where, a musician who thought would be supporting his family through his music has had to rethink all of that, and has even, moved to a different state, and is now, a gold prospecting. So never thought that he would do that kind of thing in his life, but somehow has ended up doing that, and is able to support his family in that way until such time as he works out what how to get back to his music and his creativity, because it's not falling into place for him at the moment. So, it's a real transition time. A lot of people are feeling tired. A lot of people are feeling unmotivated, uninspired. And this is all part of the letting go of the identity that was part of that old world that no longer exists, and coming into who are you now. That is really sort of the question we need to be asking ourselves. Who am I now, and what is it that I want to create in the world now?
And those are some really big questions for people. And so for someone who is just maybe starting to awaken, what would your advice be to them on trying to identify that piece and, work with that energy of awakening?
That journey starts by going inward, with the introspection. And a lot of people want to call it meditation, but I think when we use the word meditation, we have this certain image of what it should be. And I like to use different words. I like to use introspection, because it's really, even if you just spend 10, 15 minutes a day sitting quietly, even, you're not going to have epiphanies every day. Some days you're just going to sit quietly and you're going to notice yourself. Some days you're going to have amazing epiphanies. Some days you're going to have amazing visions, but other days there'll be nothing, which the universe is just asking you to sit quietly, notice yourself, notice your stress levels, notice your thoughts. What kind of thoughts are you continually bringing excuse me, bringing up in you? What are your emotions? How are you feeling in this moment? That introspective journey can also be used to reflect back on the course of your day and to assess, okay, I did really well there, or maybe, no, I didn't really handle that situation so well. What can I do about that now? How could I have handled that better? And maybe decide the next time that kind of situation comes up, well, that is what I'm going to do the next time I come up against that. Or maybe it's a decision around, okay, I didn't really handle that situation the best that I could have. Maybe I need to go back to that person and apologize and try and clarify what I really wanted to say in the moment. And this is where we start to get to know ourselves, because we've been trained and programmed very well to react in the world, to react to the world around us, to react to situations. And we do that in such a split second when we're triggered, that we may not notice this is what we do. So when we go into that introspective journey, then we're looking at those triggers and we can make decisions about whether that's something that we want to hang on to, or whether we're ready to let go of that. So I would always say, first and foremost, the journey starts inward, getting to know yourself. What is it that you want to keep going forward? What is it that you want to let go of because it no longer serves you?
That's beautiful, because when we go within, we can start to really pay attention to what's happening within. We start changing, and that is reflected on the collective.
Absolutely. Yeah, we change ourselves, but we're also changing the collective, because I call it the ripple on effect. Because, when you change something, you change your frequency, and that starts to ripple on around you. And, we may lose people out of our inner circles because of the changes that are going on within us. And that's okay. That all that means is you're growing and expanding. And that's your sign that you're being true to yourself. So
And you
That's right.
also start to, in my experience, attract people who are now at your frequency or your like-minded people. Soul groups coming
Absolutely.
together, it seems like
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when people leave your circle, there is a space that is created, and there's no such thing as a void. It's always filled in some way. And so you then start to fill those empty spaces with people who resonate more with your frequency. So it's all good all round.
Hmm. So you mentioned ascension a little while ago, and in this whole process is, we're all ascending or awakening, right? So we've been used to that 3D energy, which, can you talk a little bit about the 3D versus maybe 4D and 5D moving into that as a progression, and what are some of the signs and symptoms that people might have as they are awakening and going through that?
Sure. Awakening starts with feeling something new inside of you. Perhaps you're being pushed to learn something new. Perhaps you're being drawn to something that you never thought you would be drawn to. Um, so it's something new in your life that comes up that is calling you for some reason. So out of curiosity, certainly in my own personal experience, I went to find out what is that, because it's something new. I like things that are new and exciting. um, but, listening to that calling within, and yeah, the symptoms of ascension, I know there's a lot of information out there about all the different types of symptoms of ascension. Everything from changing your diet to changing your sleep patterns to changing, um, you know, um, the way that you think, the way that you feel. It could be changes in your body with headaches. Whatever it is for you, that is your ascension symptoms. To me, they're usually in the body, and they signal a resistance in the body. So pain in the body is resistance. So going inward, again, that introspective journey, what is it? What are you not allowing to flow through you? What is the resistance? This new energy is coming up against something, a blockage inside of you. What is that resistance about for you? So that would be a way of looking at it. And then the more you allow that energy to flow through you, the less ascension symptoms you have. We don't have to do this through pain. We can do this with ease and grace and in the flow of the energy. And so letting go of those symptoms of ascension, and by ascension, for me, people often ask me when they're starting out on the journey, what is ascension? What do you mean? Are we actually sort of rising up off the planet? Or, what does that mean? To me, it means increasing your vibration. So we're ascending in the signature frequency that you hold in your body. You are raising that frequency. And so moving out of the third dimensional consciousness, and I notice I'm using the word consciousness rather than reality, because we are creating it with our consciousness first and foremost. So when we change the way we think and feel about things, because this is how we create out in the world through our thoughts, our words, our actions, our emotions, then we're moving out of the third dimensional consciousness. And yes, the path through third dimensional consciousness into that transitionary fourth dimensional consciousness into fifth is where we're being asked to go. And a lot of people are saying, oh, we're already in fifth dimensional consciousness. Well, that is available to us on the planet, because the consciousness of this planet, which I like to call Mother Gaia, that word comes to me from my Lemurian lifetime. Mother Gaia is holding the fifth dimensional frequency, which makes it more available to us as we begin to awaken on this planet, because we are inextricably connected to this planet. So in my work, I'm transitioning people from that third dimensional consciousness into fifth dimensional consciousness. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that I can, wave a magic wand over you and make it happen for you. It's a process of rebirthing yourself over and over and over, distilling your frequency until you get to the core of who you truly are. That is the ascension process. It's not, as now thinking back to 2012, a lot of people thought on that December solstice, we would just wake up on another planet. We would wake up in another dimension. We would have aliens beaming us off the planet, all of that funny stuff. I have to laugh because it never sat well with me. It was just a marker in time to tell us, to say, this time we have chosen to do this process, the ascension process that we are calling it. And from here on in, there's a process begins for us on the planet as a collective. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful. I am curious, like how you work with your own clients and what you've seen to help them go through this ascension process. How has that work impacted them, and what have you noticed?
So working with my own clients, I have three things that I include, and it's not a modality. I can't call it. It's not a known modality. It's what is intrinsically me and how I work in on this planet currently in this lifetime. So for me, you mentioned I was a transition guide. So I'm transitioning people from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness. So they're one-on-one sessions. I use light language during those sessions. So we're really raising the vibration and assisting them. These light frequencies and codes, I'm asking them to take them on board into the cells of their body so that they're beginning to take on a higher frequency, to hold the higher frequency. I support people. I have a 22-day program where I'm literally holding your hand throughout the 22 days, because it takes 21 days to change a new neural pathway in your brain. And the third way that I work with people, so I'm working with light and sound, which are the two creative frequencies of the universe. So the third way that I work with people is to create their own personal gong soundtrack, which has the gongs, and then it has light language and toning by me, which many of my clients are saying that it's very beneficial for their meditation process. It's beneficial for raising vibration. They listen to it on a loop, while they're asleep at night with their earphones in. It's really assisting them to let go of a lot of the third dimensional thought patterns and behaviors, and I see these third dimensional thoughts and pattern behaviors as things that anchor us in the third dimensional consciousness. So as we let them go, it's almost like they just keep giving me this image of a hot air balloon, and you've got the ballast on board the balloon holding the hot air balloon down on the ground. And then as you start to let go of the ballast one by one, your balloon starts to lift off the ground. And we really want to be up and away with the fifth dimensional consciousness. So, the question that really is really important now is what is anchoring you in the third dimensional consciousness. What is still anchoring you in the third dimensional consciousness, and show me what it is so that I can transmute it and to enable me to move into who I truly am in the fifth dimensional consciousness, because we are fifth dimensional beings.
Yes, yes, we are. I'm curious, what are some maybe practical tools for people to create change in their lives or increase their vibration, something that people can use on a daily basis to help with that frequency?
Sure. So first and foremost, that inward journey, that self-assessment, checking in with yourself, what's going on for you, how are you feeling? So getting to know yourself first, and then of course, the tools of, and there's so many ways to do it. I'm not even going to go into that. The grounding and centering, because there's a lot of change around us. We need to remain grounded and centered within ourselves so that we're not in that reactionary state where we're coming from that place of stillness within. That inward introspective journey, grounding and centering. There's lots of things that people can do as well, like learning to not take things personally. Somebody could be yelling at us, for example, but if we're centered and grounded and know who we are and know that this was not something that we need to engage with, we don't need to engage in this energy with this person, then we can see it from that higher perspective, and we can see that this person is upset. We can acknowledge to them, I can see that you're upset at the moment. Perhaps we can talk about this later. Or I understand. We can offer them compassion. So compassion, understanding for an acknowledgement of what people are going through around us, because not everybody is going to have the kinds of tools that we have in our spiritual practice. And yeah, breathing, I think, this is something that we do automatically, but I think if we learn to breathe consciously and take those deeper breaths, so instead of breathing from the chest and doing that shallow fight or flight response that we've been trained so well, programmed so well to do, that when we sit and we take, like you did at the beginning of this show, you got everyone to take 3 deep breaths. When you take those 3 deep breaths, something changes within you, and it's almost like you shift into the eye of the storm, and the storm is going on around you, but you're sitting in that quiet center of calm in the middle, and you can then clearly observe what is going on around you without having to engage in that energy. So that breath, that deeper breath takes us into a calmer space where we can clearly see what's going on, but it also signals to the body to go into that rest and rejuvenate state. So, there's just a few off the top of my head that people can do, just simple things that, doesn't have to cost the world in order for them to do it. They're just natural things that we do.
And it sounds, very just simple exercises, some grounding, breathing, just those things to become centered again and not taking things personally, which I think is a big thing for a lot of people. When in the 3D, it's been taught that someone is doing something, then it must be their fault that we're mad within. But to really look at that and, where is that anger coming from? What is within me that I can go in and heal? And so that is not a trigger for me anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And And also that brings us to taking responsibility for ourselves
It's huge.
and our reactions, which then leads us to sovereignty,
Mm.
that state of sovereignty. So, when I'm talking about sovereignty, I'm talking about that ability to be free from external controlling influences, to be in a state of detachment, which doesn't mean that we don't feel things anymore. We're still observing, we're still feeling the world around us, and we can see what's going on, but we're not in reaction to it. We're coming from that centered, grounded space. We have peace inside, and we're feeling calm, and we can clearly see and think about what is going on, and how will you choose to respond to that situation or that person.
That's beautiful. That is one of my favorite words right now is sovereign, or, recognizing our sovereignty, and truly how powerful we are as humans. And so I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about that. What does sovereignty mean? And moving forward, how can we really tap into our sovereignty?
Well, as I have already mentioned, it's that it starts with that introspective journey of getting to know who you are and how you're responding to the outside world, creating those changes within you, and then that would mean taking responsibility for your actions, and then healing those things within you, as you mentioned yourself, and then you'll find yourself in that state of detachment, because you're not being triggered by anything, by that situation or that person or those words anymore. You're in a state of detachment. You're not in reaction to what others say and do around you. You can see, you can observe and go, okay, that's what's going on with them now. And you can show them compassion and understanding from your heart. You come from that heart-centered space, and you can say, yes, I can see, I understand, I acknowledge what you're going through, and if it feels right, or if they're asking you for some advice, you can give them, authentically from your heart space how you feel about what is going on, and not to be influenced so much by other people and what they think, but knowing that what you feel inside is your truth, and it's just as valid as anybody else's opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like to really think about, yeah, just that sovereignty also as, being able to create our own reality and recognizing that we get to manifest, we can manifest our purpose, when we really tune in, like, what you've been saying is tuning into your truth, tuning into your voice, and following that into what is your path. So your path might look different than what you originally thought it was, but when you tune into that, the universe will conspire with you to help create that, but you can create your own reality by creating your vision for that.
Yes, and let us all recognize that we've been creating and manifesting our own realities the whole time of our lives.
Absolutely.
But we've been manifesting it in an unconscious way. We've been manifesting it in a dysfunctional way a lot of the time. And when we go inward and we assess where we're coming from and take responsibility for our actions and our words and our thoughts, we're no longer pointing a finger of blame at other people. We're taking responsibility for that, and we're once again creating and manifesting our reality, but in a different way, from a more grounded, centered, heart-centered space, rather than in that unconscious way where we used to be.
That heart-centered space, which is that really when you start tapping into that, the heart space, Would you consider that to be part of that 5-dimensional way of being?
Absolutely. The heart space is the 5th dimensional consciousness, if you like, coming from that heart space. But it's a journey for everyone to get to that heart space, to be authentic, to be true to oneself, to be who you truly are, as opposed to what we've been programmed to be. And we believed that, we bought into that programming. We are so much more than what we think we are. Even this 3rd-dimensional brain just can't really comprehend how magnificent we actually are, how powerful we actually are, and all the capabilities that we have. And this is where the changes are going to really start to show up. And this is what's really going to awaken even more people, because they're going to start to see other people doing it, and they're going to realize, well, I can do that too.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And so it sounds like it will become, or it already is, contagious. So when you start to plant those seeds for people, and you show up in the world in that heart-centered place, that heart-centered place will continue to expand. And I know, I've listened, like the Heart Center for Heart Math has done a lot of research around the heart and how much electromagnetic field, like how far the electromagnetic field actually reaches with the heart energy, which can expand. And I'm guessing that has a lot to do with that as well.
Absolutely. It's the heart emits many more times the electromagnetic energy of the brain. So it's really, we were taught not to, not to cry, not to show emotions, not to come from that heart space, not to be, we were taught not to be vulnerable because we would get hurt. But this was keeping us in separation from who we truly are, because that heart is the most powerful organ in our body, and it's what it is really what will allow us to continue on the ascension path. So I would also recommend self-love, self-care as part of the process as well, because once we learn to love ourselves in that way, then we that ripples on outside of us. So the more we love ourselves, the more we draw in people who will love us to that level. If we don't have self-love practice, then we up until now, a lot of us have been drawing in people in our relationships who are at that same level of low self-love. How can anybody love you more than you love yourself? You can't draw that person in. It's two completely different frequencies. You just can't meet up at all. You're always passing ships in the night, although we want that and we desire someone to love us ultimately. But that journey of love begins with self, and we have to love ourselves unconditionally. We have to love ourselves compassionately. We have to love ourselves with understanding, and that will draw in the partner or the kinds of relationships that you want in your life and have been desiring the whole time.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that is really important, because as we love ourselves, that will expand outward, right? Now, is there anything that you would recommend for someone to tap into that self-love?
Again, it's a process. It's self-love is not something that you just do because you think it'll help you. It is something that you do that you enjoy. It's got to be something that you enjoy. Otherwise, it's not going to work as a self-love process. And it's an ever deepening journey. You can start with really superficial stuff like, a cup of coffee and a piece of chocolate cake, right? But that's not going to take you where you really want to go. But it's a start. Treat yourself once a week. treat yourself to different things. How can you look after yourself better? Maybe something in your diet needs to change. Maybe you need to do more exercise. Start your introspection journey practice every day. So they're sort of the places where you can start, and then it's a dynamic journey. It's going to change. What you do for yourself is going to change. So what else can you do that is part of your self-love practice? It's such an individual journey that all I can say is go inward and keep going with it. It's dynamic and it's ever changing, but the deeper you go, the more you know yourself, the more you love yourself, and the more changes you create within yourself, which then raises your vibration and ripples out into your environment.
And I love that. So thank you for sharing that. I know in my personal, work as a psychotherapist, that is probably another theme I see is that difficulty of self-love for a lot of people. And, recognizing that it is a journey and that it's about planting seeds along the way. So sometimes it might be difficult, even if you aren't used to loving yourself, or hearing words of affirmation, or doing things that are necessary to feel loved for yourself, but to just continue on that, continue planting seeds, because as you mentioned earlier, those neural networks, it takes time to change that neural networks. And we've been saying negative affirmations to ourselves for years. We just need to continue, those positive affirmations, those positive, steps, even if it's just like one step at a time, like you said, just having like a little coffee and maybe some cake or something you enjoy, that will give you some sort of self-love, or what it is you need. Maybe it's a bubble bath, or some time to yourself, reflective time in nature, but really just nurturing yourself and stopping to listen to yourself as well when things, and trusting that what's best for you and you're the expert in your own life. So, well,
Absolutely.
Maya, I'm curious. I know you mentioned taking us through a process, and so I'm wondering if you would like to lead us through a process.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Okay, so let's just get comfortable in our seats, closing our eyes and taking that beautiful, deep breath in through the nose, right down into the abdomen, and then exhaling through the mouth. And just noticing your body as you take another deep breath in and exhale. And one more time, deep breath in. And really just letting go with the breath, anything that you're hanging on to, just let it all go. And as you continue to take those deep breaths in your own natural rhythm of breathing, just connect with your heart space. Just drop down into your heart. And may the next breath be in through your heart. Breathing in love. And breathe out gratitude. And notice your heart center opening. And as you continue to stay in your heart center, allow these light frequencies and codes to permeate your being. Allow them to enter every cell in your body. Raki ai na I kuai she hei na o. Paki na I ai ka. Hura kea kora intaha ia. Tu shikina e maha. Ura ina ukuian. Tu mahe a shehi harukuina e. Tu mahikuin. Tu mai I. Tua e aun. Tura I sheha kuma e aia. Just take a deep breath into all of that. And just notice the difference in your body. And I'm being prompted to make you aware of your conscious breath. Become aware of the very air around you as you breathe in, and you notice it going in through your nostrils, down to the back of your throat and into your lungs. We are on automatic pilot a lot of the time when it comes to our breathing. We don't notice that we breathe shallow. But aside from that, the very air that we are breathing is alive, and we are not conscious of this life, this life-giving energy that is in the air. In the history of Earth, in the old language that we know as Sanskrit, there was a word that described it, and the word was prana. Prana was the word for this life-giving energy in the air. And sometimes when we have stood up too quickly, or we have been feeling quite stressed, we have seen these little points of light in front of our eyes, and we have called them stars. So we're seeing stars was the old saying. But these little points of light are the prana, or in the more modern language, adamantine particles, the sparks of life that is in the air that we breathe. And when we consciously begin to breathe them in, we notice them in our nostrils, in the back of our throat, going down into our lungs and filling our lungs with this life-giving energy. And with each subsequent breath, we are noticing these particles entering our body, spreading through the chest area, up through the shoulders and the neck, and all the way to the top of the head and down the spine and down through the abdomen and the hips and our legs, the thighs, down through the knees, down, right down into the feet, to the ends of our toes, through our arms and all the way to the tips of our fingers. Shirahiaku amakiai, unte araki, ho hai I nama a iku e a shehe turi amma ki e ho hai ara hone e ai hara una o he ara te shehane I ai a kora tua te aun tiri nama te raha tinara tu maki ai. Just take a deep breath into that. And just notice the difference in your body and how you're feeling as you are allowing these particles to move through your body to every cell in your body, right down into the marrow of your bones, into every organ in your body, all the muscle and sinew in your body, to the life-giving blood that circulates to every part of your body. And then feel those particles radiating outward through your skin, out into your energy field. And this is how we begin to radiate our light outward into the world, rather than the way that we have been programmed in the past to absorb energy around us. We now, from the heart, with the heart full of life-giving particles, radiate out through our entire being out into the world. Tinara, teraha, tea e yaun. And just giving yourself a few moments, taking a deep breath, becoming aware of yourself and your presence in this now moment. And when you feel ready, open your eyes and become fully present once again.
Thank you, Maya. That was beautiful.
Mhm.
I am I just felt the vibration, the energy just pulsating through my body. That was just an incredible experience.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Stacy. Yes, some people will feel it as heat through the body as well. So that's your body confirming that you have energy moving around.
I'm sorry, did you say hate?
Heat.
Oh, heat. Okay. My apologies. That's why I wanted to make sure. Heat. So yeah, so like the heat, I can, yeah, definitely. I can. What are some other symptoms that someone might experience through that process?
Yeah, people might be feeling tingling in their body. They might be getting chills up and down their body. They might be feeling more energized in this moment. You know, so there's lots of different ways that that your body will be signaling to you, will be speaking to you to confirm that there is energy moving through you.
I definitely felt that, just that movement of energy and, the shift, even, just from 5 or 10 minutes ago. So yeah, definitely. And I love what you said about the light, that we are accustomed to, maybe absorbing the light, but recognizing that we are the light and that we can move it. We share and spread and, bring our light into the world because we already are. We don't have to go out looking for it.
No, exactly right, Stacy. You've hit the nail on the head right there. And yes, we are the light. We are the miracle of creation itself. And that's what I said earlier. We are so much more than what we think we are. And we have been programmed to think we are so much less. And so we've been absorbing the energy out of our environment instead of radiating outward our energy, because this is where our power really lies, in radiating outwards. And so if we can get ourselves into the habit of maybe even, beginning your introspective journey practice each day with this kind of breathing in the adamantine particles, the life-giving particles, and energizing your body, and that immediately raises your vibration and sets you into that place of into that calm and that heart space, that we sit in when we sit and do that introspective journey. So practicing breathing those particles in is acknowledging also that is there. It has been provided for us. We've just forgotten it's there. The ancient cultures knew it was there, but somehow we've forgotten that it's there. And it's time to remember a lot of those things.
I love that. And yeah, and just the importance of going within and really doing that inner work. So key.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the foundational building blocks of our journey moving forward from here on in. There's self-love, but we can't do the self-love until we've done the introspective journey. So everything kind of hinges on that practice, really, and then begins to expand outward from that practice, finding out who we are, creating the changes, putting in a self-love practice there. It's really, the introspective journey is that foundational building block of the ascension path.
Which really comes back to moving through the shadows, the darker stuff that needs to be healed. So really, transcending through those shadows, transmuting that energy into the love, the light that we all are, and just recognizing our sovereignty.
Our
So,
sovereignty and our magnificence.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell us, Maya, what are you working on now and how can someone find you?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website, mayagongs.com. I've really put into play big time my 22-day program, which is called Accelerated Awakening, 22 Days to a Better Version of Yourself. And I also have been invited to be part of a book project, 25 Tools to Happiness. So I'm one of 25 authors. So that book is about to be launched on February 11. That's a self-help book. The last book in that, the last book they did, which I wasn't part of, it was called 25 Tools for Stress Relief. That went to #1 Amazon bestselling in the US and Australia. So we're hoping the happiness book also goes to #1. So we're really hoping that'll take off for us. So yeah, I've got the book project and yeah, my personal one-on-one sessions, the program, the 22-day program, and the personal Gong soundtrack. So I create a 15-minute track just for you, tuning into your energy and where you need to be, and it's your very own personal track. If you like, I'm tuning into your higher self and singing back to you your soul song. if I can put that in a nutshell.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And I'll put all those links in the show notes so people can have easy access to that as well. So that sounds like some beautiful things you're putting out in the world. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm just most honored that to be invited on your show and to be able to speak to your audience and yeah, being pushed all the time to be out there more and more.
well, we really appreciate just you sharing your experience and knowledge with us and the support you're doing and what you're putting in the world to help awaken the world and helping the ascension process. I think it's so valuable. And thank you for listening to our show. Stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And until next time, love yourself, love each other, and love the world. And if you liked this show, please share the love by sharing it with your friends. I'm sending you all peace and love always.
Thank you, Heather Lynn, for providing us with your beautiful song to accompany our show, Be the Love. If you would like to learn more about Heather Lynn and her music, please visit her website at heatherlynnmusic.com. And thank you, Chrissy Grace at Leading Edge Productions for the beautiful design and graphics.
And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we are souls on the journey. And thank you for hopping on the Ascension bus with us. And remember, there is always a seat for you.